I never imagined my best friend's younger brother could shatter my world. One rainy New York evening, as I waited for Chris in their cramped apartment, his 20-year-old brother Nate walked in, eyes locked on mine with an intensity that stole my breath. "You've changed," he said, his voice low and steady. In that moment, I felt a forbidden spark ignite, pulling me toward a truth I'd buried deep. I was falling for him, and it could cost me everything: my friendship, my family, my sense of self. But denying it only made the ache worse. Rain hammered New York City's streets like bullets against concrete, neon signs bleeding their colors into puddles that reflected the chaos above. Matt Rodriguez, 25 and perpetually late, clutched his leather portfolio against his chest as he sprinted through the downpour toward Jake's lower Manhattan apartment. His sneakers splashed through streams of water rushing toward storm drains, soaking through to his socks. The familiar buzz of his phone cut through the storm's roar. Jake's text glowed on the screen. "Stuck at the office again. Clients being impossible. Sam's home from NYU. Just let yourself in. Spare keys where it always is." Matt sighed, running fingers through his dark hair as he climbed the narrow stairs to the third-floor walk-up. He'd known Jake Sullivan since their sophomore year at Nassau Community College on Long Island, back when they were both struggling to figure out who they wanted to become. Now Jake worked 60-hour weeks at a marketing firm, chasing promotions and corner offices, while Matt freelanced as a graphic designer, creating logos for small businesses and dreaming of something bigger. "Jake," Matt called out as he stepped into the familiar apartment, shaking raindrops from his denim jacket. The space smelled like coffee and the vanilla candles Jake's girlfriend had left behind before their messy breakup last month. Silence greeted him, punctuated only by the rhythmic dripping from his soaked clothes. Then Sam appeared from the kitchen, a bottle of beer in his hand, and Matt's world tilted slightly off its axis. This wasn't the gangly kid he remembered trailing behind them during high school hangouts, begging to tag along to movies or parties. At 20, Sam had grown into himself, tall and lean, with Jake's same green eyes but sharper cheekbones and an intensity that made Matt's breath catch in his throat. "Matt," Sam said, his voice deeper than Matt remembered, carrying a confidence that seemed new. "Didn't expect to see you tonight." He leaned against the doorframe, studying Matt with an expression that felt almost predatory. Matt settled onto Jake's worn leather couch, trying to ignore the way his heart had started racing. "Traffic was murder, then this storm hit. How's college treating you?" Sam moved closer, settling into the armchair across from him, his long legs stretched out casually. "It's been enlightening, opens your eyes to a lot of things, makes you see people differently." His gaze never left Matt's face, searching for something. "What do you mean by that?" Matt asked, unconsciously leaning forward. Sam took a slow sip of his beer, considering his words. "I came out last year, to my parents, to Jake, to everyone who mattered. It wasn't easy. Dad didn't talk to me for 3 months. Some friends turned their backs, but it was necessary. I was suffocating, pretending to be someone I wasn't." He paused, his green eyes boring into Matt's. "You ever feel like that, like you're trapped in a life that doesn't quite fit?" Matt's mouth went dry. He thought about the dreams that woke him in cold sweats, the way his eyes lingered on certain actors in movies, the careful way he'd trained himself to talk about women he found attractive. His father's voice echoed in his memory. "Real men don't act like those people on TV, Matthew. That's not how God intended things." "I don't know what you're getting at," Matt said, his voice barely above a whisper. Sam leaned forward, closing the distance between them. "I think you do, and if you ever want to talk about it, really talk, I'm here. No judgment." The apartment door burst open and Jake stumbled in, cursing the weather and his boss in equal measure. The spell broke, but throughout the evening, ordering pizza, watching a game, laughing at Jake's stories from work, Matt remained acutely aware of Sam's presence. Every glance felt loaded with meaning. Every casual brush of fingers when passing the remote sent electricity up Matt's arm. Walking home through the rain-slicked streets, Matt couldn't shake Sam's question. "You ever feel trapped?" The honest answer terrified him. Yes, he felt trapped by expectations, by family, by a society that had very clear ideas about what constituted normal. But admitting it, even to himself, felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to jump into the unknown. Over the following weeks, Matt found himself constantly running into Sam, at the coffee shop near his apartment, at the bookstore in Soho where he sometimes worked on freelance projects. Each encounter felt orchestrated, though Sam maintained an air of casual coincidence that would have been convincing if not for the intensity in his eyes. The texts started a few days later, simple at first: "Good seeing you today," or "That book you mentioned sounds interesting." Then they grew bolder: "You can't keep running forever, Matt," and "I meant what I said about talking." Matt tried to maintain distance, but found himself crafting careful responses, deleting them, then typing new ones. The conversation felt like a dance where both partners knew the steps but were afraid to acknowledge the music. When Jake invited him over for a Knicks game, Matt almost declined, but curiosity, or was it something deeper, won out. Jake disappeared during halftime to grab more beer from the bodega downstairs, leaving Matt and Sam alone with the television's blue glow painting the darkened room. "I've been thinking about you," Sam said without preamble, shifting on the couch until their thighs touched. "Actually, I've been thinking about you since I was 16. Thought it was just here at worship, Jake's cool older friend, but seeing you again." He trailed off, his hand coming to rest on Matt's knee. Matt's entire body felt electrified. "Sam, this is crazy. Jake's my best friend. You're his little brother." "I'm not little anymore," Sam said, his voice rough with emotion. "And this isn't about Jake. This is about you pretending to be someone you're not, about both of us pretending we don't feel this." His fingers tightened slightly on Matt's leg. Matt stood abruptly, packing to the window. "You don't understand. My family, my work, everything I've built." "Built on what?" Sam challenged, rising to follow him. "On lies, on being afraid of who you really are." Before Matt could respond, Jake's key turned in the lock. They sprang apart, but something had shifted between them, a tension that thrummed in the air like a live wire. The next morning brought a call from Derek, an old college friend who'd overheard part of Matt's phone conversation with Sam the night before. "Dude, what's going on with you and Jake's brother?" Derek's voice carried a mixture of curiosity and something uglier. "That's some twisted shit if you're thinking what I think you're thinking." Matt's blood turned to ice. "It's not what you think." "Right," Derek laughed. "Look, I'm not judging, but Jake should probably know if his best friend's trying to corrupt his kid brother." The threat hung in the air long after Derek hung up. Matt spent the rest of the day in a panic, imagining worst-case scenarios. Being outed felt like having a sword hanging over his head, ready to slice through everything he'd worked to build. That evening, Sam texted, "Meet me at Washington Square Park, please." Against his better judgment, Matt went. He found Sam sitting on a bench beneath a street lamp, sketching in a notebook. The younger man looked up as Matt approached, his face a mixture of hope and uncertainty. "Derek knows," Matt said without preamble, "about us, whatever this is." Sam closed his notebook, giving Matt his full attention. "Then maybe it's time to stop hiding." Before Matt could protest, Sam stood and kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, then deeper as Matt's resistance crumbled. The world around them, the late-night joggers, the distant sound of traffic, the autumn chill, faded into background noise. All that existed was the warmth of Sam's lips, the way his hands cupped Matt's face, the rightness of it that terrified Matt more than anything else. Matt pulled away, breathing hard. "This can't happen." Sam's eyes glistened in the lamplight. "Why? Because of what people will think, because your parents might be disappointed. When do you start living for yourself instead of everyone else?" Matt turned and walked away, but Sam's words followed him home. That night he lay awake, remembering the kiss, the taste of Sam's lips, the way his heart had hammered against his ribcage. For the first time in his life, he'd felt completely himself, and it terrified him. Derek made good on his threat 3 days later, cornering Jake at their usual sports bar and spilling everything with the gleeful malice of someone who'd found particularly juicy gossip. Jake's reaction was immediate and explosive. He stormed out of the bar and straight to Matt's apartment, pounding on the door until the neighbors started peering through their peepholes. "Open the fucking door, Matt," Jake's voice carried down the hallway, raw with betrayal and anger. Matt opened the door to find his best friend's face flushed with rage, green eyes, so much like Sam's, blazing with hurt. "How long?" Jake demanded, pushing past Matt into the apartment. "How long have you been messing with my brother's head?" "It's not like that," Matt said, closing the door behind them. "Jake, please." "Don't," Jake whirled around, pointing an accusatory finger. "He's 20 years old, Matt, 20, and you're supposed to be my best friend. How fucked up is that?" Matt felt something break inside his chest. "I didn't plan this. I didn't want it to happen. I'm gay, Jake, or I think I am. I don't know anymore, but I care about Sam. I really care about him." The admission hung in the air between them like a confession at trial. Jake's face cycled through emotions, shock, disgust, something that might have been grief for the friend he thought he'd known. "You don't get to do this," Jake said finally, his voice quieter now but no less devastating. "You don't get to blow up our friendship and mess with my family because you're having some kind of crisis." He left without another word, the door slamming behind him with a finality that echoed through Matt's apartment like a gunshot. Within hours, Matt's phone was buzzing constantly. "Sam, Jake told me what happened. Are you okay? Then we need to talk. Then please don't shut me out too." They met at a 24-hour diner in Midtown, the kind of place that served coffee strong enough to strip paint and attracted insomniacs, shift workers, and people with nowhere else to go. Sam looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes suggesting he'd slept as little as Matt. I told him the truth, Matt said without preamble, that I care about you, that I'm probably gay, but I kept us a secret for so long and now he thinks I was just using you or something. Sam stirred sugar into his coffee with mechanical precision. Were you using me? The question hit Matt like a physical blow. What? No, Sam, no. Because that's what it feels like, Sam continued, his voice carefully controlled. Like I was this dirty little secret you were ashamed of, like you cared more about what everyone else thought than about me. Matt reached across the table, covering Sam's hand with his own. That's not true. Sam pulled away, the gesture sharp and final. Isn't it? You kissed me back, Matt, I felt it, but then you ran, just like you're running now. He stood and walked out of the diner, leaving Matt alone with 2 cups of cooling coffee and the weight of his own cowardice. The fallout spread like wildfire through their social circle. Derek, emboldened by successfully destroying Matt's friendship with Jake, began making pointed comments about keeping degenerates away from kids. Some friends grew awkward and distant, while others seemed to take a perverse pleasure in the drama. The final blow came when Jake's mother, in a misguided attempt to help, called Matt's parents to express concern about their son's influence on Sam. The conversation that followed was the worst 30 minutes of Matt's life. You're sick, his father said, his voice cold and final. This isn't how we raised you. This isn't who you are. It is who I am, Dad, Matt pleaded. I've been lying to myself and everyone else for years. Then you're no son of mine, came the response before the line went dead. His mother called an hour later, sobbing. How could you do this to us? How could you shame our family like this? Matt found himself completely alone, cut off from the people who had defined his world. The isolation was crushing, a weight that made it hard to breathe, hard to think, hard to imagine a future where he could be happy. The weeks that followed blurred together in a haze of sleepless nights and endless self-recrimination. Matt threw himself into work, taking on every freelance project he could find, anything to keep his mind occupied. But the distraction was temporary. In quiet moments, Sam's face haunted him, the memory of their kiss both a comfort and a torment. He started seeing a therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, a woman in her 50s who specialized in LGBTQ+ issues. The first session was brutal, Matt's defenses crumbling as he tried to articulate the chaos in his head. I feel like I'm betraying everything I was taught was right, he confessed, slumped in the comfortable chair across from her desk. My parents, my church, everyone I've ever respected, they all say this is wrong. What if they're right? What if I'm just confused? Dr. Chen studied him with kind but penetrating eyes. Tell me, Matt, when you kissed Sam, how did it feel? The memory rushed back with startling clarity. Like coming home, he admitted, like everything finally made sense. That doesn't sound like confusion to me, she said gently. That sounds like truth. The breakthrough came during a particularly difficult session where Matt broke down completely, sobbing into his hands as years of suppressed shame poured out. Dr. Chen handed him tissues and waited patiently for the storm to pass. The world is going to judge you, she said finally. Some people in your life might reject you, but Matt, you have to decide, are you going to live for them or are you going to live for yourself? Are you going to let fear win? Meanwhile, Sam had started dating someone, a guy named Alex from his film studies program. Matt saw them together at a coffee shop in the village, Sam's hand resting casually on Alex's shoulder as they shared some private joke. The jealousy that ripped through Matt was primal and devastating, a physical pain that left him gasping. That night he found himself outside the bar where he knew Sam would be, working up the courage to go inside. When he finally did, pushing through the crowd of college students and 20-somethings, he found Sam at a corner table, laughing at something Alex had said. Can I talk to you? Matt asked, appearing at Sam's elbow like a ghost. Sam looked up, surprise and something else flickering across his features. Matt, what are you doing here? I need to know if this is real, Matt said, gesturing between them. What we had or if you've moved on. Alex excused himself to the bathroom, leaving them alone in the noisy bar. Sam studied Matt's face, taking in the dark circles, the weight loss, the obvious signs of someone who'd been struggling. You look terrible, Sam said, not unkindly. I feel terrible. I miss you. I miss Jake. I miss my family. But most of all, I miss feeling like myself, and you were the only person who made me feel that way. Sam was quiet for a long moment. Alex is a good guy, he's uncomplicated, he knows what he wants. And I don't. Do you? Sam challenged, because last I checked, you were still running away from everything that scared you. Before Matt could respond, Jake appeared at their table, looking as surprised to see Matt as Matt was to see him. What's going on here? The three of them stood in awkward silence, the weight of their shared history pressing down like a physical force. Finally, Jake sighed and slumped into the empty chair next to his brother. This is fucked up, Jake said, but his anger seemed to have burned itself out, leaving only exhaustion. I hate this situation. I hate that my best friend and my brother are both miserable. I hate that I don't know how to fix it. Sam reached across the table and squeezed Jake's hand. You don't have to fix it. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? Jake asked. I'm the one who cut Matt off. I'm the one who made you feel like you had to choose. Matt felt tears prick at his eyes. Jake, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you or your family. I fell in love with your brother and I didn't know how to handle it. The words hung in the air the first time Matt had said them out loud. Sam's eyes widened, and even Alex, returning from the bathroom, seemed to sense the gravity of the moment. I think I should go, Alex said quietly, leaning down to kiss Sam's cheek. Call me later. Sam nodded, his attention entirely focused on Matt. You love me. Yeah, Matt said, his voice barely audible over the bar's noise. I do, and I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. The path to healing wasn't linear or easy. Jake agreed to family therapy sessions that were initially tense and uncomfortable, all three of them learning to navigate new dynamics and old wounds. Dr. Chen facilitated some of the sessions, helping them find language for feelings they'd never had to articulate before. I was scared, Jake admitted during one particularly breakthrough session. Matt's been my best friend since we were kids, and Sam's my baby brother. The idea of them together felt like losing both of them, like everything was changing and I couldn't control it. Sam, who had broken up with Alex after realizing his feelings for Matt hadn't diminished, leaned forward in his chair. Nothing about how much I love you changes, Jake, and Matt caring about me doesn't mean he cares about you less. I know that now, Jake said, or I'm trying to know it. This is all new for me. Matt's relationship with his parents remained complicated and painful. His mother eventually agreed to a few phone calls, stilted conversations where they talked around the elephant in the room. His father maintained radio silence, but Dr. Chen helped Matt understand that he couldn't control other people's reactions, only his own responses to them. You can grieve the relationship you thought you had, she told him. That loss is real and valid, but you can't sacrifice your authentic self trying to maintain relationships with people who won't accept who you are. The first time Matt and Sam went on an official date, dinner at a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy, Matt was nervous enough to change his shirt 3 times. Sam found his anxiety endearing, reaching across the table to take his hand when Matt started fidgeting with his napkin. Relax, Sam said, smiling. We've known each other for years. This is just us, finally being honest about it. I know, but everything feels different now, more real. It is more real, Sam agreed. That's the point. They faced challenges, stares from strangers when they held hands in public, comments from family members who were still adjusting, the occasional cruel remark from people like Derek who seemed invested in their failure. But they also found unexpected support. Coworkers who were genuinely happy for Matt, new friends in the LGBTQ+ community, Jake's gradual acceptance that grew into genuine enthusiasm for their relationship. The real turning point came 6 months later when Matt's sister called unexpectedly. Mom and Dad are going to therapy, she said without preamble. About you, about everything. Matt's heart raced. What does that mean? It means they're trying, they're scared and confused, but they miss you. Dad especially, though he'll never admit it. The first family dinner in almost a year was awkward but not hostile. Matt's father was mostly quiet, but he asked Sam polite questions about school and didn't flinch when Matt casually mentioned their plans to move in together. His mother hugged Sam goodbye, whispering, "Take care of my son." On a warm evening in late spring, Matt and Sam walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, the city lights twinkling below them like fallen stars. They'd made this walk dozens of times over the past months, but tonight felt different, charged with possibility. I've been thinking, Sam said, stopping in the middle of the bridge to look out over the water, about how long I waited for you to figure things out, how much time I spent being angry that you couldn't just be yourself. Matt felt a familiar stab of guilt. Sam. Let me finish, Sam said, turning to face him. I realized something. Everyone's timeline is different. You came out when you were ready in your own way, and that's okay. I'm just glad you got there eventually." Matt kissed him then, soft and sure under the vast New York sky. A few tourists snapped photos of the skyline around them, but Matt didn't care who might see. This was his life now, messy and imperfect and absolutely, undeniably real. "I love you," he said against Sam's lips, the words coming easily now after months of practice. "I love you too," Sam replied, his smile bright enough to rival the city lights. "And I'm proud of you for fighting for this, for us." They walked home hand in hand, two figures among millions in the city that never sleeps, but feeling like they were the only people in the world who mattered. The future stretched out before them, uncertain but full of promise, and for the first time in his life, Matt wasn't afraid to face it.